Hello, everybody. Welcome back. God, what is this? Our 19th outing, I believe, on Doom Eternal. Today we are going to be playing the Super Gore Nest master level. So we're starting out here, changing all our stuff to what we want, getting our mods set up and our runes, all that stuff.
This is the site where the invasion began. The oldest and most corrupted location on the planet. The Ark fought hard, but they were eventually driven out by the demons.
You can essentially consider this a practice run. This is not my finest hour where Doom Eternal is concerned. Been a little bit out of practice. And I'd kind of like to take another stab at this at some point soon. And I haven't done as much as I'd like because I got a new keyboard. It's a HyperX keyboard that's supposed to be super quiet, which I wanted in the hope that I might be able to do some streaming. But still getting the kinks worked out of all that. So I might at some point try to stream some Ultra Nightmare runs or something like that. We'll see. But for now, trying to finish off the content that we set out to do when we started this whole thing. And that is all the base content that's released, including, of course, this particular master level, the Super Gore Nest, which is maybe the toughest content that there is in Doom Eternal currently. Aside, of course, from community-made master levels and that sort of thing, which I haven't really gotten into yet. Maybe at some point. Prote and some others that have done, like, the Horde mode and some of these really crazy community master levels. Some of that stuff is just nuts. So I'd kind of like to feel as though I've fully mastered the stuff that it has come up with before I get to work on any of that. I only have so much time, after all. I am not really a YouTuber proper, so had to get to some other games that I've been wanting to play. Checked out Loop Hero, which we've got to play on the channel now, and some other stuff. But yeah, Doom Eternal. We're putting ourselves to the test on this one. This first arena in the Super Gore Nest is pretty easy, all things considered. It's a little bit front-loaded with the tyrant and a really crowded entryway. And kind of once you get past that, it's not so bad once you get out here and get your freedom of movement. It is made substantially harder if we play the variant where you are required to get all of your gear as you play the level. The classic mode, I think it's called. And I've done that once, and that's substantially tougher, although it's pretty fun. I really hate the tentacles in this level. They add a bunch of them, and they're really irritating. So I'm hemming and hawing about whether or not I want to take it here, but there is up here in place of the usual secret. We've got this nice super armor boost.
My brothers and sisters, let's help to make our friends transition into their
Lots and lots of tentacles in this room, so you have to be careful. You may want to take those out first, and there's a bunch down here as well. In this room where we just have a boatload of carcasses and a couple of zombies. As always with carcasses, they are very good at blocking your approaches, and one has to be careful with their blood punches, getting wasted, grenades and rockets getting blocked, especially rockets, because those will, you know, explode right in your face and murder you. If you need a breather, you can come down to this little entryway that we came in at. The second set of enemies here, of course, is just these Hell Knights, which aren't too big of a problem. You can get upstairs and fight them a bit more easily. Fighting them on the lower level is harder. You can get yourselves a crucible charge up there. And we've still got our secret over here. For the 1-up. Don't forget your tentacles. And this is a relatively tricky spot. The primary feature is going to be a marauder at the end, but we start with, I'm not sure how many, I want to say 2 of the invisible whiplashes. And of course a boatload of these cultist zombies, who you'll need to make use of for health, armor, and ammo. To some degree, you can kind of see the whiplashes on their own. But your flame belts will be your best friend there if you're having trouble spotting them. If you can hear them and use your flame belch to make them appear, then that makes them a lot easier to see as the flames stay on them for a bit. So this really isn't any different than a standard marauder fight, it's just hard to see. It is fairly easy for him to trap you in a corner. just given this arena, but also because it's kind of hard to see in here. Whoops. We're approaching the Ancient Gods Part 2. Teaser is supposed to drop. I actually forgot what the date was. The 15th, maybe? Just a few days. Some stuff was leaked, which I think pushed their timeline up for giving us more info about the Ancient Gods Part 2. So I'm super excited about that. They released some big, some key art that they've put into a nice big wallpaper for everybody. That's really nice. Gonna save that for later. And there are 2 fights in this arena, both of which are reasonably tough. So we'll start with this one, which I'm a little underprepared for. Obviously your blood punches will be made highly useful in this area just because of the abundance of cybermancubi. Gale elementals are just so noisy with their lost souls. Helps to stay aerial in this arena. There are lots of jump pads, so you can stay pretty quick, speedy, mobile in this fight. But there's not a lot of places to hide exactly or take cover, so you're more or less going to be under constant fire all the time. If you need a BFG shot, there is one in the secret underneath me right now in the little tunnel that goes from one side to the other. Opening right now is at my back, to the left. I will make use of that later in the second fight, which is substantially harder than this first one. Some folks may want to make use of a BFG shot here when all of these guys spawn, but there's not. I mean, there's, what, 4 or 5 of them? I'm not sure. And they're not nothing. But you have enough space to just kind of run away and take them out at your leisure. In a pinch, you can definitely go from the upper levels to the lower. Just beware of the lava, which of course will kill you pretty fast. But it can definitely help in getting better positioning on the larger enemies in particular. You can see in the teeth there, just a moment ago, is where the BFG is hiding. BFG ammo. Really just have to clean up these trash enemies after you finish off the main features. Then we can use our key and head to the next area, which is substantially harder. This is where the level gets really tough.
2 more keys will be required to open the passage. Find them.
I had played through this level once before, so I had already completed it on Nightmare once before. But kind of was forgetting some of the ins and outs. I do like to use a crucible on the second of the tyrants in here just to finish him off faster, because these carcasses can be a real pain. It's very easy to get overwhelmed between the carcasses and this Doom Hunter. And of course, don't forget the extra life if you haven't gotten it already. And at this point, you can go back and get more resources if you need to before you go down here, if you've left any health or armor or anything like that. Our stack is decent here, so don't really need to worry. And you can very much stock back up on armor in this little segment. It's a great time to make use of the explodey headshots, so you can take out just huge chunks of these guys without having to use a grenade. But of course, grenades and sticky bombs work well. And in this final phase, we can get to the totem after a second once it opens up, and just have to finish off this smattering of gargoyles. This is a tough space. The Marauder doesn't actually spawn in, he's already waiting here, which I always forget, and that tends to take me by surprise. And as soon as you get him most of the way down, then we get these arachnotrons, and in this case we also got an empowered one. Once you've taken out the Marauder, switching to your chain gun can be very useful. The little electricity charges in this room do cause damage, so you have to be aware of that as well. Not super hard to avoid, but they do take you unawares sometimes. And here's where begins some of the real madness. This is a multi-stage thing, both in this room and the next one. It's a fairly long way between checkpoints. So we have a Doom Hunter that we need to take out. And the trouble with using your blood punches on him is that immediately following, we've got course, this Dread Knight, but also 2 Cyber Mancubi. And you're going to want to have some Blood Punch available to you for what is coming after this phase. As that will be a bunch of Spectres, the invisible pinkies. As you can see them there, as soon as you kill one of the Cyber Mancubi, they come up. So having Blood Punch is great, having grenades is great. You're going to want to have Super Shotgun and Ballista ammo probably, if you can help it. And it's certainly not going to hurt to have your Flame Belch ready as well. Which is a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff to have ready after you've just come through the other fight. So if you can kind of take your time with the Cyber Mancubi, it doesn't always work out depending on how aggressive they are. But if you can, try and get some of that stuff filled up. Helps a lot. So this room, it's kind of a trick room. We've got a bunch of tentacles in the floor. And our monkey bars here that we can use to kind of stay up. Once you get the first tyrant a ways down, you'll end up with the second. You can handle this how you like. It's fairly easy to do without having to use a crucible charge. And I'm forgetting one down here. It's fairly easy to do without the crucible charge use. But that said, if you die, you have to do the previous bit over again, which I find to be more difficult. I've definitely had, while I was learning, I had plenty of times where I just was caused a great deal of grief and consternation over that previous room. This is kind of standard. I think it's just a couple of carcasses and a couple of Cagademons. Just have to watch out for the floor and make sure you're picking up your hazmat suit pickups so that you don't take too much damage. There is BFG down here. And you are probably going to want this, unless you are, you know, a really, really top tier player. The BFG comes in real handy here.
You now have access to the heart chamber.
So we get our key and we can head out. Instead of the chain gun, we can go underwater. And this is a bit of a risk-reward thing. You have to get through these tentacles. I do not, as you can see. So I wasted a life getting that. It was not worth it.
The generator is in a dormant state. 2 nearby control terminals will need to be manually activated to restore full power. Unlocking the left terminal.
And I've gotten through that little underwater section without taking a hit before, so it's certainly possible, but I don't really remember where the tentacles are. I think going around the other way might be better. To the right rather than to the left.
50% of power has been restored.
And if you kind of wait until they're about to attack and then dash, that helps a lot. That's what I have found to be most helpful.
Open the door to the second terminal at this time. You'll need to find an alternate route.
We get a couple of specters in this room to start with. And then this friend, who I waste all that armor on. And down that hallway is where we're going to eventually get a buff totem. So now the buff totem will be there, but we can't get to it yet. This isn't a particularly hard room. Now we get some fog. And a bunch of these cultist zombies. I think with some regular zombies in there as well. And at the end, we get ourselves a Mancubus. And we can take him out and then get rid of this buff totem. And then we will get out of the fog and be on our way. This is another particularly tough area. Starts off with a pair of arachnotrons and a pain elemental in addition to the trash enemies. Definitely make use of your chain gun here if you feel the need. It helps a lot since you have a lot of things shooting at you. And your mobility is a bit restricted by the lava. And of course just by the enemies themselves being on the platforms you need to get between the lava. That was a dumb move, really. I just kind of made a mistake. I shouldn't have tried to go by that guy. A Mancubus will nearly always punish any attempt to sneak past it. So we did lose that life there, which was unfortunate. We'll get another one here. So I'm going to come out here and take out these revenants. There's a little bit of ammo hiding back here. Should have recharged my blood punch there. So that's actually kind of a, I guess you could call it a trick, or a tip, is to leave one of the pair of cyber mancubi that spawns, whoopsie daisy, leave one alive downstairs and then come up here, take out the revenants, and leave that cyber mancubi alive until you're sort of dealt with everything else. Because as soon as you kill him, that's when the archvile will spawn. And of course, archviles are always a top priority for taking out immediately.
Your blood sacrifice today makes for a better.
That was sad. I used a BFG hoping to stave off death and maintain my extra life, and that did not work out. It managed to kill me anyway. But we can go over here where the secret normally is to grab ourselves a nice armor boost, which will help in this next area. With him out of the way, this is a real busy room. The main thing to note is where that buff totem is. And we're going to get a pair of cacodemons, and as soon as you kill one of them, more spawn in, and another buff totem appears. So don't do what I did there. That's kind of the wrong place to be, trapped in a corner. Gonna go get our armor again. Be careful with this guy since he is buffed. It's only a single Mancubus, but he can certainly do some damage. And watch out for the tentacles there. They can be real unpleasant. So definitely use some of your resources on that buff totem spawn, and when these new Cacodemons come in, grenades are super handy. I'm out of ammo. And I think I had used all my grenades, so I can use a shoulder grenade either. Blood Punch is also useful for clearing out large groups like that. You can kind of just honestly stay up here and pick these guys off if you have the invisible whiplashes. Or, you know, freeze them and come down to take them out quicker. There are 4 of them that spawn. Of course, if you want your mega health, that's waiting for you there. Get our blue key. And I did this poorly, if I'm recalling correctly. I was waiting for bigger enemies to spawn, because I remembered, you know, picking and choosing my targets. Instead, that's not how it works at all. You should start killing something, because nothing is going to spawn in until you do. And eventually some harder enemies will spawn in. Some carcasses and things, and you can use your berserk on them, but you should be able to get through a large portion of that encounter with your berserk. And then we get the quad damage, so it's a great opportunity for your chain gun with its shield to just dish out some safe damage. These are just kind of fun little appetizer kind of scenarios, just to give you a little breather between the really hard stuff. I'm forgetting where to go. That's the way. And this is another really difficult spot that's probably going to give a lot of people trouble. So if you didn't think marauders were bad enough on their own, well, now you get 2 of them and you have to fight them on toxic sludge. And they do not immediately spawn any trash enemies for you either. You have to wait a second for those to actually come in. And it definitely pays to make good use of them throughout the fight. You're going to want to save your Gonna want to save your flame belt for them as much as you can. And this is really a shame. I honestly could have had both of these guys if I if I just landed one of those shots on both of them simultaneously. I would have been fine there. So this seems harder than it really is if you give it a few tries and just, I mean, hopefully by this point you're fairly used to fighting marauders. And if you just kind of stick with it, you'll get it. It's not as bad as it looks. I even accidentally let him get through his glory kill animation there, which is a bit of a waste. And you can always kind of run down this corridor if you need to. Try to get at least a little health back. There we go. Get the glory kill. Get some health. Get some ammo. It helps to jump a lot, obviously. The more you can jump, the more you can avoid touching the floor. It's just waiting for my flame belts to recharge there. I don't know why, it's kind of cheeky. So from here you can go back to the starting area and use your blue key. But there really isn't a lot that you get for it. I'm already at full stack here, so you know, the utility here is kind of relative. But if you're in a bad way, you can come up here and get some health and armor, get your secret, and then come down for the main event. This is the hardest arena, I think. We start with a boatload of arachnotrons. Spoiler alert, I do take a couple of tries to do this. And this first one ends very quickly. As always, I like to leave things real, so, you know, no hot video editing to make it look like I'm hotter shit than I actually am. I sit and take several hits right there, in addition to not getting the armor, which... That was just the whole thing there. It was terrible. That last 15 seconds of that life was a good demonstration on all the things not to do. This tyrant is one of the most annoying features of this fight, since you just kind of have to take him out first. Every single time. You have to make special care not to get hit by the lava pillars that float around this level. The enemies are tough enough on their own. I am just out of ammo. is BFG over there, which you can get any time, but you're going to want to save it for the later phases of this. And of course, remember the BFG ammo that's in that secret that we've already seen me get on the last run. You can absolutely do this arena without using BFG, if that's your thing. But particularly the final phase of this fight is very difficult and made much harder if you're not using the BFG. I guess you could also pretty effectively use the Unmaker with it as well. Alright, so the next phase here, after our Revenant friends, starts with a buff totem, so you want to take that immediately. And after you've dealt with that, then it's time for, I think, 5 tyrants? 4 or 5? In addition to Carcasses. And the Carcasses, as they always do, make your life a lot more miserable. I'm actually not sure if it's 4 or 5 tyrants. Might only be 4. Definitely make good use of your ballista. Precision bolt can be useful. Super shotgun's pretty much always useful, but your rocket launcher comes into its own here, since you're often under heavy fire and have to move around a lot. Especially lock-on bursts can be really helpful. And then when you get in a good position, you can use a short-range weapon combo pretty effectively. Totally whiffed that ballista shot. So now you can see we've already got an archvile, so I'm trying to BFG, hoping to stop his summon, but it occurs to me that I don't actually know if that even works. I don't know if the BFG blast will do anything to them while they are behind their summon shield. So we've got some extra creeps here. Managed to get one of them. I think there's 2 or 3? I honestly can't remember. Use 1 charge of our Crucible, which is, this is definitely a good time to do that. And I accidentally froze him there, which is a real bummer, and I got greedy trying to finish him off. I would have had this had I not done that, most likely. That was just foolish. Never freeze a glory killable enemy, because it will reset them and you'll have to do it all over again. So 3rd time's the charm. This is the run. Just call those other 2 practice. I think I make a few dumb mistakes in this run as well, but nothing that cost me my life, so. That's dumb mistake number one. Dumb mistake number two. Okay, there's our tyrants. We got 1, 2. I couldn't get enough of an eyeball on any of them. Not sure if it's 4 or 5. There's 2 over here, and 2 that spawned further out, so maybe it's just 4? There's 1 kill. Yeah, I guess it's just 4. Had a pretty good view of the whole arena there. Just 4. Only 4 tyrants. Definitely make good use of your... Sorry, I'm not sure why I paused there. I want to say my dog was doing something. It's actually a little bit of a while ago that I recorded this, and I'm only just now getting around to processing it. Juggled a bit in that corner, never a good thing. But yeah, do make use of your meat hook on your super shotgun to zip around this level as much as you can. But also, in somewhat contradictory advice, you can kind of stay underneath that platform to remain relatively safe from the tyrants. Try and keep these guys from spawning. I kind of failed what I was doing there, so decided to go the BFG route and just finish them off with the second shot. Locked on the wrong enemy there, never good. So not exactly the most graceful handling of this. Still have that remaining tyrant, because of course the new enemy spawned before you've 100% finished dealing with the previous wave. And then you just have to polish off these remaining enemies. And for some reason these imps are causing me immense consternation. And I just can't seem to hit this last one to save my life. Imps, certainly not the biggest worry in Doom Eternal, but really they are the true boss of 2016. As everyone knows. Since we left our Mega Health, we can go back and grab that. And we're just about done. Our final challenge, of course, is the escape at the end.
The hellified barrier has opened. This air shaft will provide access to the generator's control terminal. The generator is now at full power. You can now use the main console to destroy the heart.
So we flip the switch and then
I
GTFO.
have marked your exit portal.
Warning. Main generator overload. I repeat. Main generator overload. Please
I went the wrong way.
proceed
You
with emergency
don't need to
exit.
go in that corner with the tentacles. Everyone's buffed, so you know, you sort of have to watch yourself. We've got a tyrant here, and I use that just to take him out quickly, and there's actually a marauder immediately behind me. We don't see him on screen, but you can hear him. And really it's best to just get past him, so that's why I use the grenades to stagger him
This facility will
and,
self-destruct
you know, make him use his shield
Please save your work
so that he
and
doesn't
walk
chase me
on
too
to the
hard.
nearest exit.
So we do this quick little swimming bit. Of course, I also didn't bother taking out the Doom Hunter, just tried to stagger him with a Blood Punch. And now we've got two more Marauders, buffed Marauders, and it's best to just try and get past them. Barely made it, but did. As long as you use a couple of grenades, it's usually, you can dash through there okay without too much issue. So we did it. That's it. This was not my finest run at this level. Well, actually, I guess maybe it was my finest run. I did substantially worse, of course, my first time through. It's a little better this time around, but I know I can do better. So at some point, I would like to take another stab at this and maybe try some of the other modes, like the classic mode. And I don't know, maybe possibly eventually someday Ultra Nightmare. But for now, that's going to do it. Thanks so much for joining me, guys, and I will see you next time.